Having completed the crosstabs, now we're ready to do a couple box plots. And box plots are useful because they can explain or they can express continuous variables, like in this instance, the ideology measures that we have for the executive point and the traditional courtesy measure are both continuous measures, and we can use box plots to express those in different along different criteria. So that's what we're going to do now. As I'll go up here, we'll select graphs. Legacy design dialogues. We'll go down and select box plot. We're going to do a simple one that summarizes groups of cases. Here we're going to start with the executive point. Our most basic continuous measure is going to be the variable that we're actually going to plot. We're going to categorize that across our dependent variable, which is follow, whether we follow the precedent or not. And so go up there like that. This one's the most simple box plot that you can do. And we hit OK, and we get that, which shows that people with more conservative ideology were more likely to follow Schechter than those that were more liberal. And that makes sense because Schechter was a really strongly conservative economic precedent. This is ugly, though, so we want to kind of fix it a little bit if we can. So I'll show you how that works. If you double click on this window, it'll bring up a third window, which is the chart editor. So let's do that. And here it gets, you need full space. So what I'll do is I'll click on the green and go here, and it'll be fine. You can do a lot of different things. It'll pull this thing up and it'll set your chart size. So let's just do, I always like to do, I don't know, 3x5s, 300 by 500, something like that. Apply, gets you a little bit better like that. Let me see if I can change this. This is really ugly. So if you click on these, you'll get the preview. It gets that kind of baby food yellow color. It's not very good. So let's put in just a simple gray. That's fine. If you like, you can change the weight of these categories. So 2.5 usually works pretty good. If we select the whiskers are actually different. So if we select the whiskers, then make those something like 1.5. Apply that there. The most important thing to do is select the scale, because you need to present a clean scale that reflects the range of your variable. -1 is going to be the one that we use for the most minimum, +1 for the most conservative, and we'll do like 0.25, so quarter points in there. These are all okay. So that changed the scale, and see how that adjusted appropriately. All right, so not bad there. Let's change some variables. If you click this once, it's circled in blue. If you click it again, it goes back. So let's do ideal point. So we'll just make note that it's the judge's ideal point, executive. And sometimes I put liberal to conservative, but for now we'll just do that, and we'll put that in the notes later. For here, we have a title down here. Let's change this a little bit because that doesn't really make any sense. Let's call this Treatment of Landmark Precedent. So we have judge's ideal point, executive, treatment of land point, distinguished. So liberals were a little bit more likely to distinguish than conservatives. Kind of makes sense. We're good there. Make sure once you have the editor that you close it out. So close the editor. It'll make those changes, and then it'll put it in your log file, just like that. And if you make an error on that again, or if you do it again, go up and use the edit file to delete those out and everything else. But you're going to have those two box plots ahead of here, and then this is going to be your first, your two crosstabs ahead, and then you're going to have, this is going to be your first box plot. So let's save this. Okay, I'm going to save this as, I don't know. Schechter box plots. Okay, good. Okay, so we've done the most simple box plot. Let's do something a little bit more complex. And so we used the dichotomous dependent variable and the most simple continuous one, the executive. So let's go up one level on both. So let's again go to graph, legacy dialog, box plot. We'll stay in the simple one again, summaries, groups, cases. Here we're going to change that one out for the more refined a little bit. Traditional point, it picks up those kind of senatorial influences for the lower courts. Instead of the follow, let's try our respect variable. Remember, that's the -3 to 3 in terms of the categories there. So let's put that up there, and let's just click it and let it run. There, you notice we get kind of this trending change, so it's actually not a bad plot because it goes kind of incrementally increases all the way throughout. It gets a slight dip here, but the distinguishing ones are always going to be the weirdest ones, right? Because they're the separate, and you can dissent on a lot of different reasons, and it may not kind of map up to this, but these kind of, the majority and the concurrences seem to be working very well right through here. Let's clean this plot up just like we did before. I'm going to click this, that brings up the data editor. Okay. One thing I want to do here, this has got more information in it, so let's make this chart size a little bit bigger. Let's maintain get rid of that aspect ratio. Let's do 300 by, I don't know, let's do 600 instead. Let's apply that. Let's do this, double click that, get the gray in there again. Change the weight to 2.5 there, apply it. Let's do that one, 1.5, apply it there. Let's do our variables again. That's a bit of a long one, it goes all the way up there. Let's do down here. Treatment. Let's get rid of that. So we go from dissent follow, majority distinguish, right? So this is the most likely to, this is the least treatment of it, is by liberals, right? They'll distinguish, majority distinguish a little bit more. Concurring is a little bit more moderate, right? Those who followed but did so half-heartedly were a little bit more conservative. The majority follow were much more conservative, right? And then dissent distinguishes were just slightly less. It's a trend that makes about sense. Okay, good. Close that out. Be sure to hit the red button to close out the editor. And if you look, we've got that first one there, and we've got that one there. And later, what we'll do is we will export these into a graphic image, and we'll put them into a Word table. Okay, good. Okay, so let's create our third and final box plot. This one's much more complex, and as you add to the level of complexity, it creates problems for the editing of it, as we'll see here in a little bit. So we'll have to kind of work around a couple of things, but let's just kind of go through and see what we can do. Again, we're going to hit Graphs, Legacy Designs, Box Plot. We're going to use simple summary of group cases. We'll define that. We're going to use traditional point in that variable. We're going to use the respect as that ordinal category. And then we're going to, the big thing is we're going to change. We're going to put the level of X, and we're going to panel by the level of the court. So when we run that, we get something like this. And so that's the plot. There's a couple kind of minor bugs in here that we have to work around, one of which is this level. It'd be nice to have the Supreme Court up there and the U.S. District Court down here, To do that, I'd have to create a new variable where the U.S. District Court was number 3, this was 2 and 1. If I did that, then I could reverse the order, but it doesn't want me to. It doesn't allow me to sort those very easily. Scatter plots are a little bit better on that way. Whatever way you sort it is the way that those things kind of they come out. But this one, it doesn't work that way. You'd have to create another variable. Let me double click on this thing, get the full editor up, and let's do some things just to clean it up and get it ready to show. Chart size, I'm going to click off that maintain aspect ratio. We've got 3 things, so let's make this big enough. 600. Let's do 600 by 600. That gives us a very big space. I don't need this level X thing because the 3 levels there tell us pretty much what it is. So let's just get rid of that. In terms of this one, this label for whatever reason does not kind of come up. So we're going to trick the system. We're going to go here to labels and we're going to say display access title, and we're just going to say click that off and run with it. Doing that though creates the following issue because we need to create a little bit of space there. So I'm going to create a little bit of space. And I'll show you how to put a text box in for a label later. Let's click on this tab. This one we're going to do treatment. All good. And notice this level here is just not quite wide enough. So let's go back and do our chart size and make it just a tad bit bigger. 650. Apply that, and then that gets us to where we are here. And that looks pretty good. The scale here needs to be fixed. Let's go to the scale. We'll do -1 to +1. Apply that. It's all good. Let's fix these. Get rid of that color. Let's do a heavier kind of body. And then we can click the whiskers if we like, make those a little bit thicker. Those 0.75 ones are a little light. Apply that there. And net, we're pretty good. We still need a label over here, so let me show you how to do that real quick. If you put in elements, let's see, options, let's do a text box. Okay, so the text box is problematic, so let's do the text layout first. We're going to do let's do this. Let's do this. We have to change this to bottom up. So let's do this. Apply that. Notice what it does is it creates that problem. So if we go here, excellent. So now we've got it fixed. Although it still goes to that. What we'll say is judge's ideal point as tradition. And when we're done with that, it goes there. Let's do one other thing. Let's bold that thing if we have a possible. Text style. Let's make sure that we bold it. And pretty much that's about as good as we're going to get. So in this assignment, we've created 3 different box plots. The first is just the bluntest, the executive point and party. Then we did the 6-part ordinal scale, and then we did it by scale, that 6-part scale, and the U.S. Supreme Court. Save your document, and you're good.